Here's something history doesn't like to admit. For a long time, death wasn't the punishment, it was the mercy. Across civilizations, humans decided that simply killing someone was far too easy, so instead, they invented punishments meant to humiliate, terrify, and psychologically destroy people long before life actually ended. These punishments weren't designed for efficiency. They were designed to make everyone watching fall in line. Let's start in ancient Persia with a punishment so cruel it feels almost fictional. It was called Scaphism. The victim was trapped between two hollowed wooden boats, leaving only their head, hands, and feet exposed. They were force-fed milk and honey, not to help them, but to keep them alive. Then their body was coated in honey and left near stagnant water. Nature took care of the rest. No executioner, no blade, just time, heat, and inevitability. Death eventually arrived, but only after suffering had made itself very comfortable. Now let's move east to ancient China and a punishment known as Ling Chi. Often translated as death by 1,000 cuts, it wasn't about speed, it was about symbolism. Ling Chi was reserved for crimes like treason, crimes against the state itself. The punishment didn't just end a life, it erased honor, reputation, and legacy. In a culture where dignity mattered deeply, this was worse than dying quietly. It was a public statement that you would be remembered for the wrong reasons, forever. Ancient Rome, on the other hand, believed punishment should also be entertaining. They called it damnatio ad bestias. Condemned criminals, prisoners of war, and early Christians were sent into arenas to face wild animals. No weapons, no protection, just an audience. The real punishment wasn't the animals, it was the waiting, the noise of the crowd, knowing that your fear was the main attraction. In Rome, justice wasn't silent, it sold tickets. Not all cruel punishments were about death itself. In medieval Europe, public humiliation could ruin a life just as effectively. Take the pillory, a simple wooden frame that locked your head and hands in place in the town square. People could throw food, rocks, and insults for hours or even days. The punishment ended eventually, but the damage didn't. Your neighbors remembered. Your reputation didn't recover. Sometimes surviving was worse than not. Then there's one of history's quietest punishments, immurement. A person was sealed inside a wall or enclosed space, alive. No crowd, no spectacle, just darkness, silence, and time. Once the final brick was placed, society moved on, out of sight, out of mind. It wasn't meant to teach the victim a lesson. It was meant to remind everyone else not to ask questions. What all these punishments have in common isn't violence, it's intention. They were designed to make suffering visible, memorable, and terrifying. History didn't always want justice. Sometimes it wanted an example. So the next time you complain about paperwork, queues, or a bad day at work, remember this: at least history isn't trying to turn your